Broadcasting live from Dar es Salaam, this is TVC News, our top stories. Tanzania at center stage as it hosts the second World Federation of Neurosurgical Societies International Conference.
Across three pillars: innovation, research, and equitable access to care.
4 years of conflicts, we explore the fate of Sudan's crisis and its rippling effects. Good evening, I am Teddy Mparinyanga. You can also follow us live via YouTube channel TBC Online, and let's get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan has been awarded the International Neurosurgery Special Humanitarian Award by the Tanzania Neurosurgeons Association, where she has stressed the government's commitment to continue investing in the health sector. The international conference, which is being held at Julius Nyerere International Conference Center in Dar es Salaam, brings together global experts in brain, spine, and nervous system surgery. Caroline Maleo has prepared the following report.
President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan is here being awarded the Humanitarian Award for Brain Surgery by the Tanzania Neurosurgical Society.
And let us truly give a big round of applause.
And here she insists that her government remains committed to improve the country's health sector.
We also have invested significantly in infrastructure and diagnostic services, this making Tanzania among the few countries in Africa with this advanced diagnostic capability. In addition, MRI machines have increased from 7 to 14, CT scans from 12 to 97, and digital X-rays from 147 to 457 across public and private facilities. Furthermore, the government has invested in expanding facilities such as the Muhimbili Orthopedic Institute, MOI, outpatient department, and reduce congestion and improve access to specialized care.
On his part, the Minister of Health, Mohamed Mchengerwa, says Tanzania's Ministry of Health is working around the clock to improve brain, spine, and nervous system surgery and serve people within and outside of the country.
The quality of care in Tanzania continues to improve in ways that are both visible and deeply felt. Where there was once distance, there is now access. Where there was once limitation, there is now possibility. And where there was once uncertainty, there is now growing trust in the capacity of our health system, system to heal, system to serve, and to serve lives.
Furthermore, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Saif Shekalage, says Tanzania is honored to host the conference, describing it as an important platform for advancing collaboration in specialized medical care.
The theme of this conference calls a collective action across three pillars: innovation, research, and equitable access to care. This theme reflects the need for coordinated efforts from prevention and emergency response to treatment, but also rehabilitation and financing.
The president of the Neurosurgical Society Federation, Professor Tariq Khan, insists that countries must integrate neurosurgical care into national health strategies, stressing that it is critical investment rather than an optional service.
We have seen encouraging examples where efforts to integrate surgical data systems in registries have demonstrated how evidence can guide decision-making and improve outcomes. Here in Tanzania, we are witnessing important progress in strengthening training, infrastructure, and national coordination.
The conference is expected to strengthen international cooperation in advancing neurosurgical care and improving emergency medical response systems across participating countries. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Caroline Maleo, TBC News.
Sudan has now entered its fourth year of conflict. in what the United Nations describes as the most severe humanitarian crisis in the world today. Caroline Maleo reports.
The war, which erupted in April 2023 between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Force, has triggered a catastrophic collapse of livelihoods and basic services. What began as a power struggle has evolved into a nationwide crisis, displacing more than 8 million people and leaving nearly half of the country's population in urgent need of humanitarian assistance. In regions such as Darfur, the situation has become especially dire. Communities have become cut off from aid, markets have collapsed, and access to food, water, and healthcare remains critically limited. Humanitarian agencies warn that famine conditions are no longer a looming threat for many Sudanese families. But beyond the immediate violence, the war has crippled Sudanese economy. Key infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and transport network, have been destroyed, while inflation and supply shortages continue to push basic commodities out of reach for ordinary citizens. For millions, survival now depends entirely on humanitarian aid. However, analysts say the response to Sudanese crisis is being overshadowed by competing global priorities. Ongoing conflicts, particularly in the Middle East, have diverted both funding and diplomatic attention, leaving Sudan underfunded and increasingly isolated on the international stage. This comes at a time when coordinated global action is urgently needed. On April 15, Germany hosted a high-level international conference aimed at mobilizing international support and reviving political dialogue on Sudan. The meeting brought together key partners and aid organizations in an effort to chart a path towards peace. Yet Sudan's decision to boycott the conference has raised fresh concerns among observers. Experts warn that without the participating of key stakeholders, efforts to reach a political settlement may remain limited, further prolonging the conflict and deepening the humanitarian crisis. There are also growing fears of regional instability. Sudan's crisis has forced millions to flee across borders into neighboring countries, placing additional pressure on already fragile systems and raising concerns over long-term security and economic impacts in the region. As the war drags on with no clear resolution in sight, the burden continues to fall heavily on civilian families who are displaced, children out of school, and communities struggling to survive amid uncertainties. For many Sudanese, peace remains a distant hope as the world grapples with how to respond to a crisis that continues to unfold with devastating consequences. This is Caroline Maleo, TBC News.
And to discuss more on Sudan's civil war, which entered its fourth year with no end in sight, I'm joined live in the studio with political and diplomatic analyst Vertenis Nyagira. Welcome very much, Vertenis.
Thank you so much.
We know former Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete was appointed as the African Union High Representative for the Africa Horn and the Red Sea on March 25th. Now, this task is mostly, this role is mostly tasked with complex responsibilities. And seeing the crisis that is ongoing in Sudan, how important is a peaceful and stable Sudan at the moment?
Thank you so much, Teddy. And as you have said it very right, that it is not just a national issue or a national peace issue. It is a continental deal. And it can be facilitated or seen from four angles. Number one, you know, Sudan stands at a geopolitical strategic position. It connects the North Africa, connects the Horn of Africa. It also connects the Sahel. And you know, conflict always de-escalate if they go from the border point of view. So Sudan being in problems, it means the whole chain of the North Africa, the Horn of Africa, Sahel will be in much danger. And I think that's why it needs a serious intentional eye. That's number one. Number two, there will be regional security spillover. You know, we say in a caravan, both crocodile and monitor lizards are present. So these neighboring countries, such like South Sudan, Ethiopia, Chad, they are much affected, and they will be affected on 2 levels or 3 levels. Number one, there is a flow of arms flow, of which you don't know from which hands they come from and they land to. So there will be a series of insecurity and insecurity imbalances in those areas. There is again another movement of militia. You see, nowadays we have many groups, militia groups, of which they existed back then in Sudan for a quite long time. And these are the groups which lead to the coming of RSF and some other groups. So all these have a serious disruption into security. And so therefore, if you don't look at it, the whole region of East Africa, the North Africa, and the western part of Sahara, there will be a problem in the Sahel. So that's why they're looking at it in that way. But another thing which you can look at is the Red Sea security. You know, Sudan has a long coastal line of 530 miles along the Red Sea. So it opens to other areas of the globe for commerce and the other things. And in number last, we talk of economic integration. If you don't look at Sudan very well, and the question of peace is not given a priority, it remains fragile. The issue of African integration and many other things related with the economic integration.
Okay, now with all those factors stating how important it is for Sudan to be peaceful and stable at the moment, this has been an ongoing crisis from 2023 up till now. Why has it been so difficult for peace negotiations to be done?
And actually, it is not from 2023. It's from 1989, actually, when Omar al-Bashir couped the government. The question of Sudan, they have a serious issue on leadership, and the leadership has been paramount and actually has been based on a military kind of leadership. Civilians have never been into place. So when you come to the issue of 2023, the paramilitary group which was made by al-Bashir called the RSF, Rapid Support Force, it had an intention of curbing the displacing dissent, but at the same time fighting the counterinsurgency for Western Darfur and the Blue Nile and the other areas of Saudi Kordofan, fighting the rebels around that area. But the experts say the group was made because he started distrusting the Sudanese armed forces. So he wanted a group which would protect him against the coup from within. And that's why you see Hamdani Dagalo is much superior when it comes to the question of SAF. He was taken as a kid. Actually, there is a concept in ancient Roman Empire, they used it in the military called praeta. Praeta is you take few elite classes of soldiers to protect you against anyone. So they had a tent in a military camp where you find these people outside guarding. Those are called the praeta. That's a person who goes before. It comes from dissenting. Now, political scientists have used this term to signify that these people are used secretively to dismantle any upcoming voices against their government. So that's why you see there is a serious issue of which cannot be solved easily unless otherwise it is localized. And I think that's where African Union needs to chip in very largely.
And Patronus, it is at times like this now, we look back or we focus on the international community, international organs. What are they doing? What is happening? How is this going to be solved? How would you assess now the international community's response? Has it been effective or inadequate?
It has not been so much effective when it comes to from 2023, but before that, at least AMISI was the United Nations mission in Sudan and done a great job by that time before the 2011 when there was a referendum which took over the two nations. Now we have Sudan, Khartoum, and Juba, Sudan. Now these two nations, at least by then when we were still one, there was a collaboration of international cartel of good intentions. But now, when they separated, now it has been so hard. And the mathematics has changed, the calculations has changed generally, because the lens they had, they thought it were the Arabs against the blacks, but now it is an issue within. Like Mwalimu said, that when you break the union, it will come now, you will localize the problem into yourselves. This is what is happening. Now, I think the African Union has not been much visible as you look at the United Nations. United Nations has been sending missions and support financially from the international community. But the African Union, with its stance on African problems, African solutions, it has not been much visible. And I think something needed to be done around that area.
In April, Germany tried to, they actually hosted a Sudan conference. This was all in the sake of, bringing mediation. But Sudan itself boycotted the conference. Now, what does this message now send to the international mediation efforts?
Of course, they are sending only one key message, that peace cannot be imposed. It has to be negotiated from within and by. So when you look at these two generals, they are much afraid from, they are actually, you say, sovereignty sensitivity. They don't want external influence into their affairs. And that's why you have seen almost all the talks from Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and all these groups where they have been, it has failed. So that's number one. But number two, you can look at it from this perspective that they are calling for African solution. They want a neutral party in Africa to intervene. But now when you look at it, African Union is still itself fragile, it's fluid, it has a number of issues. Maybe with this new envoy, special envoy, maybe he may come up with a new breath, he will come up with a new energy, which may bring these parties into discussion. Okay,
I'm now looking ahead. As an analyst, as a political analyst, what realistic pathways now exist for Sudan, especially when it comes to bringing peace? Or are there any other factors or role that these organizations like the African Union can do in terms of mediation?
Exactly. I think African Union now should put its boots very well within, because you can see from the diplomatic estimations since the war started, they are saying over almost 400,000 people have died. Others, only 150 directly into the war, but the rest not directly. It's because of hunger, displacement, and many diseases, and so forth and so on. So I think African Union has to give its eye proper. And it has the historical root, because I think the drafters of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in 2005, when they were seizing war from the 1989 to 2005, they had a bad drafting on one element, that the Sudan, if the blacks cannot actually fit with the Arabs, the white Arabs, then they should separate. I think that was a mistake, because it has much localized the problem and it cannot properly be solved, because the North is in trouble, is at war, the South the same thing. So I think African Union has now to take seriously these issues. When they happen in Africa, in African countries, they should not just sleep and say, they will solve it because we have had some agreements. No, I don't think that's not good.
Okay, thank you very much, Petenas.
You're welcome.
And now on to the next story. The Africa 50 Institute, a Pan-African infrastructure investment platform, has confirmed its readiness to invest in Tanzania's major strategic projects, aligning with the country's national development vision, DIRA 2050. This was stated by the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute, Alain Bubise, when he met and held talks with the Tanzania delegation led by the Minister of Finance, Ambassador Hamis Musa Omar at the Tanzanian Embassy in Washington, D.C., on the sidelines of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund spring meetings. Here are more details.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Institute, Alain Bubise, says his institute has extensive experience in financing, project development, and managing infrastructure in sectors such as energy, transport, and ICT, where Tanzania is considered a country with great potential to advance its development agenda by engaging with Africa 50 to attract both foreign and domestic private capital.
$30 to $15 million because we want to test the market in order to do a bigger project. One of the key areas of focus for Africa 50 is to help gasify our African economies. You see, Honorable Minister, we have gas in Africa. We have about 10 to 11% of reserves. But most of our gas is exported to non-African countries, which is fine because we're getting revenues. But you see, we also need to have some of this gas and a growing portion of that gas to support our industrialization.
He insists that African countries, including Tanzania, are endowed with numerous resources that can stimulate their economies. But the biggest challenge is how to obtain capital. And that is where his institute is ready to be part of solving the challenge for Tanzania.
We, Africa 50, we have to support our countries to try to build these pipelines, these virtual LNGs, so that we can get that gas to the manufacturing bases, even to individual customers.
On the other hand, the Minister of Finance, Ambassador Hamis Musa Omar, welcomes the institute and other investors to invest in Tanzania and benefit from various incentives that are offered by the Tanzanian government to investors.
We hope that in terms of financing of the implementation of the vision, we actually assign private sector to contribute around 70% for the implementation. That means we have to build, we have to continue nurture the local private sector for more investment from the domestic private sector. We still have to attract more FDI in the country. There will be a very important role that PPP will have to play. Now, of course, with PPP, then I come to the other issue on transmission.
Africa 50 is an infrastructure investment platform founded by the Africa Development Bank, AFDB, and African governments to rapidly bridge the continent's infrastructure deficit.
The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, Professor Gordius Kayarara, insists Kigoma region continues to be a key priority area for infrastructure investment due to its strategic position along Lake Tanganyika, surrounding countries, and its potential to boost regional trade. Kayarara made the remarks during the Lake Tanganyika Business and Investment Forum held in Kigoma region, emphasizing that Kigoma serves as an important link to neighboring countries, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, Burundi, and Rwanda, strengthening trade and investment opportunities across the region. Sedos reports from Kigoma.
Forum themes Kigoma, a trade hub for cross-border trade along Lake Tanganyika countries, brings together stakeholders from both the public and private sector to promote investment and regional economic integration. Speaking at the forum, Professor Kayarara explains why the timing of this initiative is critical for unlocking Kigoma's economic potential.
Of this forum is to bring together investors, businessmen from Tanzania and DRC, plus other countries that shares the Lake Tanganyika. This is one of the largest basins in Africa. GDP is close to, it's more than $100 billion US. Population close to 100 millions. So it's a very big economic base that a lot is possible. On our side as transport sector, we are very much interested in this area. That's where the standard gauge railway will diverge outside Tanzania. We have a 208 kilometers railway, which now is being constructed from Kigoma to Musongati in Burundi. But from Musongati, it will proceed to Kindu in DRC. But also we are constructing a wagon ferry. That's a ferry that can carry the standard gauge railway to the other side of the lake.
Meanwhile, leaders from the Democratic Republic of Congo emphasized the importance of Kigoma and Lake Tanganyika in supporting cross-border trade, as the governor of South Kivu notes that the region heavily relies on Tanzania, with up to 83% of daily essential goods sourced through the Kigoma region due to the ongoing disputes in the area.
Over 14 millions of inhabitants. I mean, it's about 14 millions of consumers, and we need everything because we still face challenges of conflict. We are facing challenges of lack of infrastructure. We are facing challenges of lack of, we import everything. About 83% of our needs in terms of agriculture, food and everything, we do import. So Tanzania, Dar es Salaam through Kigoma is one of our exit ports for international markets. So we really need this cooperation. It's very important.
We used to make a good business with Kigoma port, and then now Tanganyika province we have a lot of possibility of business with Tanzania. That's the reason why I appreciate that program which we have between Tanzania and DRC, according the Corridor Central, which can help us to connect DRC directly to Dar es Salaam.
As regional cooperation continues to strengthen, stakeholders say increased investment in infrastructure and trade facilitation will be key to unlocking the full economic potential of the Lake Tanganyika corridor. Kigoma is now positioning itself not only as a gateway for regional trade, but also a hub for sustainable investment and economic growth. Esther Deus, TBC News.
Experts from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, and the United Nations Capital Development Fund, UNCDF, are meeting in a high-level policy dialogue in Tanzania to align forest, energy, and climate policies to getting realization of the country's national goal of ensuring 80% of households adopt clean cooking solutions by 2034 to curb alarming rates of deforestation. The representative of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism, who is the permanent secretary of the ministry and the dean of the Olmutonyi Forestry College in Arusha, Dr. Joseph Makero, says coordinated efforts are required to achieve the 10-year strategy clean energy goal, which aims at ensuring 80% of Tanzanians are using clean energy by 2034.
Through ongoing programs such as the forest and farm facilities, as mentioned earlier, the FFF, the dry land sustainable landscapes impact programs, and the EU-supported Cook Fund program, we have made meaningful progress in sustainable forest management, improved forest governance, and the capacity development for both communities and the institutions.
The launching of the National Renewable Energy Strategy 2024-2034 and National Energy Efficiency Strategy, researchers note that there is still a disconnect between environmental conservation goals and the rapid, often coordinated, adoption of clean energy technologies. And now, before we wind up the local news for tonight, let's take a look at today's exchange rates. According to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. And in sports news, Azam FC head coach Florent Ibenge says they have set a good plan that will help to outshine their rivals JKT Tanzania to get good results that will put them in a good position of competing for top positions in the ongoing Tanzania Premier League. Ibenge believes the game will be very competitive due to the quality of JKT Tanzania players, while they have good weapons that they will help to beat and solidify their position in the league table.
That it's one of the best teams here in Tanzania League. So when you have the best team, that means you are good technically, tactically, and mentally also you are fit. I said it. We were leading, and they scored in the last minute. So that means it's a good team. We have to be really good tomorrow in order to take 3 points. It's what we want. We want to take 3 points. We said that. We draw a lot, so we want to draw less and to win more.
And that marks the end of our news bulletin for tonight. Do not miss our next bulletin in Kiswahili at 11 p.m. On behalf of the whole team, I am Teddy Faranyanga. Have a lovely, lovely night.
TBC1, ukweli na uhakika.
Utanzania wangu